Make no mistake about it. The Power Four is coming after the Group of Five. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, transfer portal floodgates have opened up, and holy cow, some big names are in there. And Quantus White got suspended. Was that retroactively? Did I miss that? We'll talk about that and Sunbelt Hoops this week. Meanwhile, don't make any mistake about it. The Power Four is coming after the G5, okay? Because the ACC screwed up, JMU got in, and the Group of Five got 2 spots instead of 1 spot, getting the top highest ranked champion, which is actually there's not a spot for the G5, right? It was changing. It was the 5 highest rated champions, and JMU got in there because the ACC screwed their stuff up. Okay, fair enough. But some of these guys, they all feel like they're looking out for the little guy. Joe Klatt. I'm a big fan of Stan Verrett. All right. Also, Joe Klatt. I saw somebody walk around like, where did Joe Klatt come from? He did play quarterback at Colorado, but all of a sudden, he's just doing college football. He's just there. Usually, these guys work their way up. He just showed up about a decade ago. And they're all looking out for poor little G5. All right. Also, someone's trying to tell me there's a big difference between Tennessee getting blown out and Oregon getting blown out last year than JMU and Tulane getting blown out this year. Of course, the difference is that JMU covered and Oregon and Tennessee did not. All right. But they're coming for it. All right. They are. All right. We've had the playoffs for 2 years. It's changed each of the first 2 years, and it's going to change in the third year. Apparently, USC ended their relationship because of the guarantee that Notre Dame's going to have that if they finish in the top 12 rankings, they get into the playoff. So now you're going to have all 4 conference champions. So is that SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12. All 4 conference champions get in. So that would have been Duke this year. And Duke, I'm going to guess, would have had a lot less success than JMU did against Oregon. All right. But Duke would have gotten in there, and Notre Dame would have gotten in there. No Miami, as the case may have been. So they're going to change that. All right. And it's going to be very difficult. The only way a team like JMU gets in there is if they do upset Louisville and just keep on moving up those rankings because everyone else loses. But then you're going to get to that spot where all of a sudden, oh, we're just going to pull JMU right out of there, and we're going to put that Power 4 team right in there. All right. Notre Dame found out what that was like, although it wasn't G5 and Power 4. But they were in the rankings. They were going to the college playoff, and then all of a sudden, someone had a change of heart and lost out. But that's what's coming. All right. And it probably will, as people are already jumping ahead. And we mentioned this months ago. And we really just should get to the SEC and the Big Ten championship because that's what they want. All right. That's all they want. They want all the money. And it's also, it's not only about the college money for the sports, but that's where these colleges, college football is a 3.5-hour commercial for these schools. And something that I did not realize until I got to Alabama, because I can talk out of both sides of my mouth, that Nick Saban was overpaid as a college coach, but underpaid as a college ambassador. Who knew that Alabama had more people from out of state now enrolling than in state? I believe, and I haven't looked lately, but before Nick Saban got there, to certainly when Nick Saban left, their enrollment jumped 50%. That's a lot of money. That's a lot more kids. All right. And for the first time, and I don't know when that line got crossed, they had more kids from out of state than in state. That's even more money. And now some of these other schools, what do you think we're going to see from Tulane over the last 4 years? Tulane, for those who don't know, right, kind of this uppity, that's the wrong word, high-end private college school, all right? Maybe uppity, maybe a little snobby, okay? They think they're great because they do cost a lot of money to go to. Okay. However, it is this nice private college tucked away in a nice New Orleans neighborhood. And they finally decided when they went after and got Willie Fritz, we're going to invest in football. Look what's happened. Let's see what enrollment is for Tulane next year, and going into the fall of 2026 compared to what it was, say, fall of 19. All right. There's probably a COVID year in there and everything like that. I get it. That's why I'm trying to do it before a COVID. All right. So numbers could be a little funky, but I bet you they're high. I bet you JMU's enrollment has increased, and the Power Four knows this. All right. They realize how important keeping the money in the family is all about. And we're going to end up with a G5 playoff. It's inevitable because we're going to go a few years without a G5 team getting in. And the G5 guys are going to get around saying, we should have a playoff. All right. Maybe it takes down the road. It takes years and years. I know Montana and Montana State love that rivalry. It's fantastic. I'm not sure that's going to work. There's some states that obviously don't have, major league sports, right? Virginia doesn't have major league sports, although, well, they are right there in the DC area, that part of the state. West Virginia doesn't have, professional sports, right? Alabama doesn't have professional sports, right? Mississippi doesn't have major league professional sports. And so that's the thing. That's why those colleges are so popular. And I'm just not sure a G5 playoff is going to make it. You're going to have all home games, which I guess is fine. But are you going to travel for a G5 championship in the middle of January? Is it going to be close to where these places are? Do you have to hop on a plane? Is it going to be in Florida? Are we going to play in a 70,000 seat stadium where you're going to get 25,000 people in there? Which would be a good crowd. I don't know. But I think the Power Four is coming for the G5, and we probably need a response. Someone needs to figure out on how to lead the G5. I don't know if there's going to be, is there going to be a lawsuit? All right. I would presume Greg Sankey and the SEC have better lawyers than the NCAA. But if you're taking on NCAA lawyers, you're going to win. But everyone's worried about the antitrust that you're forbidding us. Whereas, as I mentioned, all of the other sports franchises or sports leagues, whether it be, it was the NBA first. That's how David Stern got the NBA to be so popular. They just expanded the playoffs. NHL followed. College or baseball, Major League Baseball followed, right? Think how often the NCAA tournament has expanded. I'm not sure anybody wanted it to be the 68. We got a successful podcast called The Field of 68, and people like watching those games. Dayton gets them. They're in the same spot every year. They get a couple of ball games. My Orange went through there. They actually, ended up in the Sweet 16 one year because of that. Had a nice little run. No one thinks they can win the championship. No one's thinking that any one of those four teams go win the national championship, but they're still in the playoffs. And it keeps those fan bases engaged, especially towards the end of the season. College football is going to screw this up. They're going to screw it up. And I think they're going to screw it up badly. Unless they expand to 16 and guarantee the G5 spot, at least one. And then if you are ranked high, like, again, if JMU beat Louisville, they probably would have been, I don't know if they would have been top 12, but they certainly would have been top 15. If they were undefeated and they had beaten Louisville, they would have been up there in the rankings because that's just how the rankings work. Okay. Sunbelt transfer portal floodgates have opened. Not great, Bob. All right. Talk about that when I come back after I tell you about game time. There's nothing like college football season, the tailgates, the packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues, logins, and prices jumping out at checkout. That's why Game Time gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I opened the Game Time app to look for Syracuse basketball tickets, and oddly enough, two were cheaper than one, so I had more space to sit going to that Syracuse Stonehill basketball game, that vaunted rivalry. I love being able to see the view from my seat before buying, so I know exactly what I was getting. And seeing college football tickets as low as $25 made it an easy plan to make my game day trip. Again, I had, same thing. I could have gotten into Syracuse sitting up in the third level for $8. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right. So the transfer portal is open, and I guess it would Monday saw Bill Davis and Zylan Perry for the Cajuns, the running back duo, kind of lightning and thunder in there, go into the transfer portal. That feels like it is kind of they're looking for an NIL deal. Okay, so I don't know. I'd love to know how that works. Do they talk to the coach and see if we can get an NIL deal? How much that's going to be? Do they offer them? I don't know what a school like the Cajuns are offering. Are they offering them each $10,000? Can they offer them each $50,000? And do they think they can make hundreds of $1,000s? Like, do the Cajuns offer them something? I don't know. It'd be interesting to find that out, how that all works out. I don't even know this. It'd be nice to know the specific numbers. Like, here's $100,000, but I can go get $500,000. Can they? I don't know. But those are two big losses for the Cajuns for sure. Our guy, Howell Razor, all right, Jeremy Harper, fellow bourbon advocate, if you put it that way. He does a great job of keeping up with the Sunbelt Transfer Portal Board, and he has it on his Twitter feed, all right? And, oh, my goodness, the amount of people going in from some of these schools. App State, 27 so far, including 3 quarterbacks. Did I just notice the third one? The 2 main ones went in there. J.J. Cole, who I had noticed originally, but I did notice the other day, and A.J. Swan is in there. But I thought there was a Matthew Wilson is in. That's 3 quarterbacks going in. Dowell Loggins has his work cut out for him. Definitely has his work cut out for him. Georgia State, 26 players in the portal. That is just a ton. And it's that way, not for everyone, but that's a tough way to do it. Jacquez Cross, the banged up running back, going for Arkansas State, is going in there. Right now, only 5 Arkansas State players are in it. Coastal's only got 3. We'll see if that changes because the new coach is coming in. Mentioned Georgia State with 26, including TJ Finley, which we knew about. They're losing a ton of players. All right. Marshall, just a few. KJ Jones, Justin Williams-Thomas, Brock Walters. They only have 5 going in there. ODU, though, the running back Traquan Jones and Colton Joseph, those are big losses. Big losses for South Alabama. They have more than a handful, not quite as many as the others, but they look like they got more than a dozen. Trent Thomas, the tight end, and Tyler Thomas, the defensive lineman, are leaving. Those are twins. And this is where Schultz is getting old. I called their high school football games for Cottage Hill. Getting a little old. All right. Another big loss was Blaine Myrick. Now, the only thing here is Kentrell Bullock is on here. And I did a quick search. I didn't even know this game existed, but he's going to go play in the American Bowl, which is another all-star bowl. So I think he is leaving for the NFL. So you're playing in the bowl game. That's in Orlando. That's in Florida. Congratulations to him. I wasn't sure he was going to transfer, but that, I'm not really sure. So they got some. Holden Grenier is leaving Texas State. Troy has a couple. Jaquez White is leaving. ULM's got a couple, but there's not everybody in here. There's nobody from Georgia Southern in here. Nobody from JMU yet. There will be. Okay. And that's just off the top of my head. But this is the way it's going to be for until we have some guardrails. And there's no guardrails. Okay. Because there's no guardrails for coaches, although there's buyouts. There's no guardrails preventing someone from going to a new school every year. There just isn't. And the only way you're going to stop that, can't make a rule, you're going to lose in court. The only way you're going to stop that is you got to collectively bargain for the players. The players are going to have to be a union, and it's going to become more and more professional, unfortunately. But that's where we're headed. Because you can't have free agency every year like that. We'll change it. Everyone can't be a free agent every year. Okay. If you flip that and go that to the pros, they wouldn't want that either. Okay. The pros have very much staggered free agency because they want to create a demand for their free agents. If everybody was a free agent, the top guys would get their money, but that money would come down right away for everybody else. All right. That's the way that is. All right. If you asked the players, if you asked the agents, would they want free agent every year? No, they wouldn't. Not professionally. All right. They just would not. And so you're going to need some guardrails. Some of these big time quarterbacks. And by the way, I did say, see Nico is staying at UCLA. We'll see what happens with Bob Chesney. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It's got to be at least a little bit of a good thing, at least for now. Doesn't mean Bob can't go and grab a quarterback out of the portal and compete for the spot. It means Nico is staying. So Bob could say, hey, I got to bring somebody in to compete with you. And, if you're better, you'll win. But I can't guarantee you the job. And so we'll see how that goes. But until we get some guardrails, I mean, in this case, the G5 is going to be a minor league training ground. The G5 is a farm system, both for coaches and players. All right. It is funny that they don't want them part of the playoff, but then they're hiring all the coaches and scooping up all the players because the G5 does a good job of making them better football, developing them. That's the deal. All right. And so we need some sort of guardrails. I have not even heard outside of, you get one free transfer, you get to transfer if the coach leaves, and then after that, you lose a year of eligibility. And so the idea is to stick around. And if you do it once or twice, or twice because the coach leaves, you don't get an extra time to do it because you're a graduate. I don't understand. Do you still have eligibility at another school? But I don't understand some of that. But that's what I would do. And I really haven't seen anybody propose anything like that unless I'm stealing it from somebody else. That very well could be the case. All right. Did we find out on Monday that Quantis White was suspended for that ULM game? Did we miss that in between? Let's talk about that next, and we'll do some Sunbelt basketball as well. All right. Let me first tell you about FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. If you were live betting that Patriots-Ravens game, you were being driven nuts. Doesn't matter who you had. Each coach made some very interesting decisions. Throwing deep to a running back on 3rd and 2 for the Patriots. Didn't understand that one, driving the ball down the field. And then, of course, they fake a punt on 4th and 10 on their own 42, which led directly to a touchdown. Meanwhile, the Ravens, Derrick Henry can't be stopped, but we're going to take an 11-point lead and then proceed not to hand it off to Derrick Henry the rest of the way. What are they doing? Live betting would have been very interesting in that football game. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt. Your teams every day. Still getting some good love out of the shorts that we're posting up. Really appreciate that. As the month and the year winds down, really appreciative of everybody's support. And again, for the most part, the Oregon Ducks fans have been in here. Hey, we had a great time with the JMU fans. They put up a fight. They should be proud. You get the smart asses in here once in a while, but we have some fun with them because they really don't have a leg to stand on. All right. Never said the game was close. Just said JMU covered. All right. And contradicting what the other people say about it. So we're just having some fun on the Twitterverse. Okay. I saw this. I thought I'd get Raging Cajuns press releases, but maybe I don't. I certainly get them from somebody. But this was put out on Monday. All right. Let me see when the first one was. 324 and 323. So Quantas White put out a statement at 3:23 on Monday. I accept full responsibility for my actions and regret that my conduct fell short of the standards I have for myself and for those for which the university upholds. I want to apologize to our university community and our amazing fan base, and I'm committed to modeling the values of professionalism and respect while continuing to serve our student athletes. I remain fully committed to the growth, development, and success of our young men on and off the court, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to lead this program. I believe deeply in this team, our staff, and the direction we are headed. I am excited about the remainder of the season and work ahead. I'm thankful for every day to represent the University of Louisiana and coach these student athletes with pride. Go Cajuns. Okay, so that was a 323. 324, the university has addressed this matter internally in a manner consistent with our values and expectations for leadership. We remain committed to a culture of accountability and respect while reaffirming our standards of conduct. Coach White has our full support, and we consider this matter addressed. Okay, that was Monday, again, 323 and 324. Apparently, he was suspended for the game on Saturday. All right, so we were all consumed with college football. I don't know how much of that ULM game I saw. I watched some of the South Alabama ball game. I think the Cajuns game was over. The Cajun game was during the day. Yeah, I was still working. Yeah, and I wasn't traveling that day as I should have been. But wasn't listening to the ULM or watching the ULM Cajuns ball game. And again, apparently they mentioned that. I didn't see it on Twitter or X, and didn't get a press release. I don't think I did. I looked, I didn't see one. They just put out a Twitter statement that Quantas White, and this is all going back to the Southern Miss situation over the weekend. Or I guess last Thursday. Last Thursday? Yeah, last Thursday. And so they played ULM on Saturday, which they won, by the way. And they just sort of did it oddly. Like, we suspended them. If you were watching the game, you knew that, and listening to the game. And then they put it out on Monday that, oh, by the way, Quantas White was suspended. It seems to be a little bit out of order, right? Usually we make an announcement, then he's suspended, and then we move on. He got suspended, and then we found out. Was it written about? I need to go back and look, because there's a couple of Cajuns beat writers that I don't think had it either until he was suspended. I could be wrong. All right. We could look, but I follow the Cajuns beat writers and the Cajuns sportscasters. And I don't know if I missed it. I could have. Right. Pouting why I wasn't traveling on Saturday. But again, the football games were on. So we were just all concentrating on that, both college and pro, as it turns out. So he got suspended. We didn't find out about it until after the fact, sort of. And again, maybe they did light a fire. Maybe he did light a fire underneath the team. Good night, Mama Schultz. All right. So we got to wrap this up, in other words. Anyways, do have a couple of Sunbelt ball games. We had one Monday. Coastal Carolina beats St. Joe's 68-62. So that's a couple wins in a row for Coastal Carolina, right? They had lost 2 in a row to Grand Canyon and App State, but now they've come back and beat Old Dominion and beat St. Joe's on the road. They don't play again until January 1st. And then on Tuesday, you do have, it has not started yet. We got Marshall versus West Virginia Tech. Oh, no, it's tonight. I'm sorry. Again, my days are all off. So Monday night, Coastal did beat St. Joe's, and tonight Marshall is hosting West Virginia U Tech. Marshall with a tough loss against Troy in their, I think Sunbelt opener, right? They're 7-5. Almost beat UNC Wilmington. Good battle against Ohio. Did beat Western Kentucky and Wright State before they lost to Troy. So they had won 2 in a row after losing 3 in a row. And so that basketball team's starting to look like the Marshall baseball team that had a wild ride last year. A wild ride. And then get to the semis of the Sunbelt Championship. They had a wild ride. We'll see what happens this year. No trip to Hawaii, though, for the Thundering Herd. You got to do a better job, coach. You got to go back to Hawaii. And then I don't think we get any ball games, right? I don't think we have any Sunbelt ball games until Sunday. So we have them this weekend. Monroe's at Kansas State, Louisiana hosting Norfolk State, Georgia State against Columbia College, Old Dominion at Maryland. That's nice. And Monday, South Alabama hosting Mobile, their rival. Southern Miss going to LSU. Very nice. And James Madison is at Arkansas. Big ball game there. And then Arkansas State hosting Arkansas Tech on Tuesday. And then you're back in Sunbelt play Wednesday, Thursday, and of course, Saturday. It starts up again. Okay. So we'll get all into that later on. All right. Let me know what you think. Again, the Power Four is coming after the G5. And yet all of these leagues have done such a great job expanding to keep their fan bases engaged. College football wants to not contract, as the case may be, but wants to eliminate half of the fan base. Doesn't make any sense outside of the money. And that's where it makes for the money. All right. Transfer portal floodgates have opened up. Again, you can go to, let's see what it is. It is howlrazor.com, and you can find it on his website. He does a great job. The Sunbelt Football Transfer Portal Board. All right. Transfer Portal Board. So there's a lot of guys in it already, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot more as it opens up. January 2nd, we're going to get a lot more. All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt on Wednesday. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.